What is chaos storage theory? When you walk into our warehouse at the How Not To store, it looks like a mess. If you ask me, hey, I'd like to see XYZ harness, I don't know where it is. I have to look it up. And I'm going to show you the pros and cons if we have stuff chaos well versus if we have similar things right next to each other. Now, a little context for why chaos storage is part of our two-part packing system is because how reliable we want to be. We offer a guarantee that says if we don't put your order in the mail the day you order it, your order is free. 1 p.m. cutoff time, Monday through Saturday. Now, if we don't put the right thing in the mail, we didn't put the right thing in the mail. And now that costs us even more than maybe another store. Now, a lot of stores will, out of apology, either give you a discount code to something else, your money back, something. So it's not entirely crazy that we offer the or it's free guarantee, but it is important to us that we put the right thing in the box. And so there's two ways to do that. There is making sure there's nothing else like it where that thing lives. And then the other thing is making sure that we have a good scanning system so everything you touch gets scanned and it's verified by a computer. So verified by our system, verified by a computer. And technically we have a third way is you stop and you look at it and you go, yep, that looks like a phone. And you just have that third check. And whenever we do all three of those, I don't see how we can screw it up. It's only when we skip any of those is when we risk actually making any mistakes. Now, every video I make here on the behind the scenes channel is bullet pointed in our playbook, which is our SOP. And so the theory is you want to keep like items out of the same box. And these examples below can't be in the same box. You don't want the same category items. So you don't want two types of harnesses in the same box. You don't want an ohm and a Z in the same box. If you have two blue 70 meters ropes in the same cubby, you just don't want that. Two different sizes of the same item. So there's two different sizes of VT Pro6. They cannot go in the same box. You cannot identify them without just staring at them really hard. Originally, when we started the store, we had all of the Moses rivet hangers all in one box. Granted, they were in different Ziploc bags, but whoa, it was so hard. You had to stare at it for a couple minutes trying to figure out the difference between them. You don't want a 30 and 60 meter sling next to each other. Two colors of the same item. You don't want two colors of the same item in the same box, which would be, let's say there's a gray and an orange of a Roger carabiner. You don't want them in the same box. Now, this gets a little different when you have them on pegboards because it is more convenient when people are often buying similar things all the time that you're not running around the store grabbing them, You can put two different things on a single peg on a pegboard, but they have to be extremely different looking. Hardware goes on the ground because it's heavy, and so you have to chaos storage that carefully because you have limited space where you can put hardware. Limited space where you put spools. And so you kind of have to be strategic on how you chaos that. And if we do find an item that is too similar at a single location and you almost make a mistake, the idea at the store is to move it and just change the SKU because we have designed specifically an app to make that easy. If you don't have 2 seconds to do it right, you just put it in the middle of the floor, not to be a tripping hazard, put it near the wall, something that just looks out of the way so we know to get it better when we have time. Let's head over to the shop and show you how it works. I stick my hand in here. I'm only going to find one type of harness, or I'm going to find something else that doesn't look, feel, or is anything like a harness. And in this box, we only have 2 items, which makes it very easy to keep track of. Some of these have 3, 4, 5, or 6 different things in one box. And that's where chaos storage gets a little bit tricky. Let me give you a quick tour. We'll talk about locations in a different video, but here we've got some crampons, some hollow drill bits, some of that specific cam. No other cam goes in here, and a descender. And those fit. And we don't have that many of these. These don't need their own bin. And this allows us to never mix up anything. Now, you have to have this dialed really, really well to where this information is on every product page backend, or in our case SKU, in order to not lose where this is. Because if you don't have the number of this, or it's wrong, then you have to search through all of this to try to find it. Now, oftentimes between 2 boxes we'll have a loose item, but we only have one type of loose item. just this. We don't have two axes next to each other. And having stuff right next to each other is always a debate, right? That is a stick clip, and it's tall and doesn't fit very well in very many places. And you only have so many of these locations that accommodate it. And so to have something here or here, and if somebody's not paying attention and grabs this instead of that, because it's not a very different number and they look similar, and if you're in the dark, even these. That's a perfect example of the risk of doing this. Now these four are here and these four are here, is because we have ice axes right next to each other, and these tools are right next to each other, and so they can easily get mixed up. Now, of course, we still scan the item before we put it in a box, but you want to be able to grab from 34502 a ring and just be done with it. You don't want to wonder if you have the right product. But then you come over to totems, and more often than not, people are buying an entire rack, right? And so you don't want to have to go a little bit here, a little bit here, and it reduces how much walking you have if you don't have to go to all these different bins, but instead you can grab orange, the green, the red, this, the blue, the black. If you have two carabiners that are almost identical in every way except this color, and they don't really look that different on Shopify's little icon image, that could get confusing. But if people are going to buy one of each color, it's a lot easier to grab one of each. The risk becomes a little bit more when it is the similar color, similar shape, and it's just similar in every way right next to each other. But again, you're debating on whether or not it's more convenient to have that. In the rope room, you have to decide between R4, R5, and R6. But you have to put a spool based on the width, right? So you have to have two spools on here. Whereas this 800 meter spool, you don't have very many options. You can either put it there or you can put it there. Now, we've had before somebody grab the 9mm pit rope instead of the 11mm pit rope. And so there is a risk having these right next to each other. If we really truly wanted a chaos storage, we'd put one of the pit ropes over there and one of those, because this is thick, pick, slick. It's very difficult to figure out which one's which. But then again, we scan it before we cut anything. Do these look similar? Because if you're in a hurry or you're new, that is 7mm, and this thinner stuff you can see is 4mm. The fact that both of these are in the same row is a risk based on chaos storage theory. But then there's some places that are just really good for a certain type of product, and right, so we put all our ropes here that are not on spools, and you just don't put inside of one cubby. You don't put another green rope that's similar. This is a very different rope than this, and that is a very different rope than this. That is a very different rope than this rope, but all these white ones are the same type. And then a duetto 30 meters, very different than this. You don't put even this next to a very similar product, but a different color variant in the same thing, because you want to make sure you're giving people the right stuff. So it is nice to have all these nuts in one place, but I know the difference between these two. They're sets, and I have put these in the wrong spot before. Restocking is more of a risk when you see that it's C, or in this case, D71, 72, 73. The D73 goes here and you accidentally put on D74. But there's pros and cons to having them all in one place. Some things are easy. They take up so much room that you don't need to mix them in the same box. They just live there. Now, we have all the Friction Lab chalk here, and that's not in a place, plus they're different enough. You're not likely to screw that up picking the wrong thing or even restocking the wrong thing. It's mostly when you have bins that look like this. Now, hardware is tricky because you have to put it in all of these bins on the ground. You can't put it on any shelves because it's too heavy. And you can share bins. This one's a little full, but you can share this P-shape with two rings because it's so different than that Perma quick draw. And so they can share a bin, just like these P-shaped bolts that are not purchased all the time can share a space with this. And that is a good use of space in order to maximize every cubic millimeter in our warehouse space. If you have enough of something, you just make the bin entirely that one thing. And if you have more than this, because you try to have thousands of these and you only want to put in here one bin full, then it can go in the back. So the back has overstock, and this is like a little bit different because we have so much of this. This entire shelf is a 3/8 by 3" bolts, and so that doesn't require as much chaos storage. It just requires some good labeling. We also have this in our location number that it is on this shelf, but all of our ropes also live here, and so chaos storage is a little bit flexible in how we use it. Now, we primarily make this for our team or people we are going to be training to help us, but we make these public because I want this stuff to be helpful for anybody who might have a shop or just is morbidly curious how we do things. This is not how everyone does things. I actually don't have a lot of retail experience I don't have any outside of doing this store. I've been doing it for a year and a half. So there is a feedback section if you have helpful feedback, because the more I know, the better these videos would be. But there is a specific way we have that and why we have it the way we do in the description. We do have business and media playlists on our channel, as well as this retail stuff. So pick your flavor, watch what you want, don't watch what you don't. Thanks for watching this. See you later.